And so the nightly hunt begins.
Hi guys, this is James from CVG and I'm joined today by Joel Gregory, the editor of GamesMaster magazine.
Hello everybody.
Hello Joel, and we are here to talk about Bloodborne. You went out to Gamescom this year, you saw it, you got a bit of hands-on time with it. I guess the first question right up top is the one everyone will want to know, is it just Dark Souls but on PS4?
Yes and no. Someone from Software will probably come and kill me for saying that, but yeah, in essence it is. I mean, you only need to look at it, look at the HUD, look at the combat system, and see that it shares more than a little bit of DNA with all the Souls games. I mean, it's being made by the same team, helmed by the same guy. So essentially what we're looking at is next gen Souls, but with a few tweaks, and the tweaks are quite important. I mean, obviously, you know, game by game, every series has to change, and although it's lost Souls from its name, it is doing some different things that Souls games haven't done before. Notably, I mean, the most notable one, which some people will probably go mad about, is they've essentially taken away shields, and they've replaced them in a way with what they're calling the regain system. Now, the regain system is essentially, if you take damage, your health bar goes down, as always, but for a brief window, the health that's been taken away can be regained. See what they've done there?
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, it's clever. By landing your own attacks. So basically, if someone takes a chunk of health off you, it'll stay in your health bar in yellow as opposed to red. And during that brief window of time, if you then respond with attacks of your own, you can get back some, if not all, of your health. How much you get back obviously depends on how many attacks you land, and also depends on the weapon you're using as well.
Okay, so does that encourage more of a fast-paced way of playing it?
Yeah, I mean, this is what they want to do. I mean, I've played the Souls games through and love them, but a lot of times you do get stuck in this very defensive frame of mind because enemies are so tough, dying can be so punitive, save points or miles apart from each other, so you can find yourself being very defensive and very hesitant to get involved in combat. Whereas now, if you take damage, your best option is often going to be to kind of dive straight back in and try and get revenge. There are still, of course, healing items, so you can heal in other ways, but yeah, it's there to kind of make you go in a bit more headstrong and be a bit more active. And obviously you don't have a shield, so have the option of just kind of standing there and taking hits and not taking damage from them is kind of taken away from you.
Alright, well, we'll talk about the HUD and some of the weapons in a second, but just looking at it now visually, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Do you know much about the setting and the story around it?
Well, a little bit. The place you're in is called Yharnam, and it, as is seemingly ever the case in Souls games, or not Souls games as it is here, there is a curse that has kind of gripped the town, a curse born in blood. So that's where they've got that from. And you are, again, as ever seems to be the case, on the hunt for a cure to this curse. So they haven't been massively forthcoming with story details, but the assumption basically is that these beasts you're fighting are people who've been taken by this curse, and there's been a few references to you transforming yourself bit by bit, so you're there to essentially find a cure before that happens, and obviously like the aesthetic is very kind of gothic and a bit of a shift away from what we've seen in the Dark Souls games.
Alright, so we mentioned the HUD just now. It's had a few tweaks. A couple of things have been moved around from the traditional.
Yeah, so it's top left rather than bottom left for a start. One important thing is that the healing items no longer sit with the normal items, which anyone who's played Souls games will know is a very good thing, because you'll no longer sort of scroll past them if you're manically trying to fight people off. Now they always live on triangle, and you can see top left, that counter is your blood vials, and those are your healing items, replacing Estus flasks. And now you've got gun ammo as opposed to bow ammo in your right hand slot, as the character, as you can see, has a gun in his left hand which can be fired with a tap of the shoulder buttons. Again, this is part of the kind of more active combat. You can use the gun as part of combos and stuff like that.
Well, speaking of weapons, you mentioned that yes, guns are in now, but you've also got weapons that you can transform from one-handed weapons to two-handed weapons?
Yeah, so every weapon essentially has 2 states. They're calling it 3 states, which is a slight liberty, because essentially you've got a one state and another state, and then also while it transforms, your weapon can have effects. So you can combo, or rather you can transform mid-combo with your weapons, so you can change, this axe essentially extends from a one-handed axe into a longer two-handed axe. The other weapon we've seen is the cleaver, the sword cleaver, which goes from a kind of slicing weapon and folds out into almost a scythe. As you'd expect, the longer and the more two-handed they are, as it were, the more damage they do, but the harder they are to wield and the slower they are. But also when you transform your weapon, you can, for instance, with the sword cleaver, you can use that transformational process to knock a shield or an item out of enemies' hands. So it kind of works in 3 different ways.
Alright, well, thanks for that little update on Bloodborne, Joel. The game is out around spring 2015?
Yeah, they're saying early next year.
Okay, so stay tuned to CVG and GamesMaster for more on that as we get it.